Hey guys, my name is kat.westwright, but you can call me Kat, and welcome back to my channel. I am a professional rider and owner of Willow Grove Stables here in Silver Glade, and I'm going to be taking you through a day in my life. So, a bit of a backstory, today's vlog is actually a bit of an old one. I recorded it back in April and never got the chance to put it together, which is why you'll see that I'm wearing long sleeves despite the upload date being in August. We've also had some renovations done to the barn since then, so things will look a bit different in future videos, but you know, there's no point letting a good vlog go to waste. So I do hope you'll enjoy this one. So without further ado, let's get into it. My day began around 6:30 a.m. as usual, which I kind of despise because I'm really not a morning person, but it's part of the job, so I guess I have to do it. After I had breakfast, which I didn't bother filming because it really wasn't that interesting, I got dressed for the day. So for my outfit details, the sweater and the vest that I'm wearing is by the brand Sunset Trails, and so are my pants. And my barn boots are from the brand Scandinavian Sensibilities. These are so comfortable and waterproof, and I just cannot recommend them enough. Finally, my hat I got at a show a while back, so I unfortunately really don't know the brand. And after I got dressed, I had to let out my dog. His name is Charlie. He is a 1-year-old terrier mix. I rescued him about 4 months ago. And once I was done with that, I headed out to the barn. During the spring, we rotate between a night or day turnout schedule depending on the weather, and today we decided to turn out the horses during the day since there were some heavy rains forecasted during the night. My amazing barn staff normally takes care of a lot of the morning chores such as turnout, cleaning, and mucking stalls, so I just had to take care of some basic housekeeping like making sure the hay nets and water buckets were filled and also tidying up our feed room. I then headed out to our outdoor arena to set our course for the week. We normally take everything down and drag it every Sunday night so that it's fresh and ready to go for the week. Once I was done with all of that, I threw on my riding boots and a helmet, and it was on to my first victim of the day, my horse, Diamond. So Diamond is a 14-year-old Belgian warmblood, and I've had her ever since I was 16 years old, and I'm now 24, so you can do the math on that. And I took her from a green little baby to a 4-star eventer, and she's kind of like my everything horse, but we mostly compete in eventing together. She's actually had some time off from competing, and we've been focusing on our training and just kicking some bad habits that she's picked up, and it's been going really well, so I'm excited to start competing this fall. Today we had a jump school planned. I really just wanted to make sure we were getting clean lines when we were approaching the jumps, as that was kind of the main issue we were having back when we were competing, and something that we've been trying to squash. During our warm-up, we did a lot of work off of the rail today, with my goal really being to get her to pay attention and to keep her balanced. I was expecting her to be fresh today since it was pretty cold this morning, but to my surprise, she was actually pretty quiet and was working really nicely. To start off our jump school, I took her over this small vertical at a trot a few times before coming around at the canter. And I could tell that she was just in a really good headspace today. She was super focused and responsive, and it was just kind of proof that I made the right call with doubling down on her training and taking a step back from competing. My next ride was with Tony, who is one of the horses in my training program right now. He is a 7-year-old Dutch warmblood gelding who was imported to Jorvik from the Netherlands. And he's just such a gorgeous horse. He comes from a long line of eventers, and he's a beautiful mover, and just based off of his build alone, you can tell that he's extremely athletic. But one thing he does struggle a bit with is confidence, especially in the jump ring, which is the main thing that we've been working on with him. We actually started off our ride pretty well. He was being very responsive on the flat. I always say that riding him is almost like being on a piece of clay because he's just so flexible and easily moldable. We worked on a lot of transitions and just some lateral movements to get him thinking and in the right mindset. We moved on to picking up some smaller jumps, and it was going pretty well until we came around to this green vertical, and he was just not having it with that jump for some reason. The first time I came at it, he flat out refused, and when I tried to go around to it from the other side, he ended up throwing a bit of a fit. So I figured it had something to do with the jump itself rather than the approach. So when that happens, I usually let the horse walk around the jump, let them get a sniff of it, and when I come around it again, I made sure to keep my pressure really firm with my lower leg. And sure enough, that ended up working. He jumped it beautifully, and after that, it was pretty smooth sailing, especially over the bigger jumps, oddly enough. Here you can see he got a little bit too eager and rushed forward, which is one of the ways his anxiety manifests over the jumps, but other than that, we ended our ride on a good note. My final ride of the morning was on Sharky, who belongs to one of my students that is currently on vacation. So I've been riding him just to keep him in shape. Sharky is a 15-year-old Hanoverian gelding, and they mostly show in the hunters and equitation together. But fun fact, when he was younger, he actually used to be a jumper for a bit. So he is kind of a 3-ring horse. Today, I wanted to work with him on the flat, focusing on bending and flexibility. So I set up a few cones and ground poles. So see that soon, but the goal was really just to push him off of my inside leg and get him into this nice and balanced banana shape. And despite his years of experience, he can have a bit of a tendency to try and cut the corners or just kind of run off the rail. So we made sure to do lots of exercises like this with him so that he maintains his shape and is kind of able to avoid this habit from getting too bad. towards the end here, he started to get tired, and you can actually see he kind of broke his canter and tried to cut inward, so I had to straighten him out. And I kind of decided to end it there, since at that point it was starting to get pretty warm and he had definitely earned some time in the pasture. In the afternoon, I had a bunch of errands and tasks that I needed to work on. My first order of business was to bring Bluey to the vet for his acupuncture appointment. So we got Bluey about 5 months ago from a rescue horse auction, and we really don't know too much about his background other than what was stated in the auction papers and what our vet was able to tell us. We know that he was basically dumped out in the wild woods, and when the rangers found him, he was underweight and severely dehydrated. They were able to identify him through genetic testing, and also it's kind of obvious by his general conformation as a Tennessee walking horse. Thankfully though, he didn't show any evidence of abuse that can be found in gaited horses. According to vet estimates based on his teeth, he looks to be about 19 years old, so I think that his former owners just didn't want to care for an elderly horse. And as is common amongst older horses, he's been experiencing some stiffness and soreness. So we've been taking him to get bi-weekly acupuncture appointments, and they've just made a world of a difference. He's become a completely different horse since he started getting them, and this is going to be his 5th treatment, so we're hoping after this one we can start spacing them out a bit more since he's been doing so well. After the vet appointment, I headed into town. I had to stop by the pharmacy and then the tailor to pick up my new show jumping jacket as it needed some minor adjustments. I also lunged Griffin. He is an Arabian thoroughbred cross that is owned by one of my boarders, and he's just like the most stereotypical hot-headed show jumping stallion. He just has so much energy that we need to lunge him regularly throughout the week on top of riding. You could definitely see that energy coming out today. He just wanted to run. That's kind of the point, is to let him get all of that extra energy out so that when he's under saddle, he's a bit more demure and calm. Now, normally at this point I would start teaching lessons, but since it was a Monday, I actually didn't have to. So Willow Grove Stables is typically closed for lessons on Mondays, just to give me and the staff a chance to reset and get everything in order for the week, especially as the weekends are our busiest days. This also allows our lesson horses to get a much needed break. And I just use this time to do boring adult business things, which I didn't bother filming because I don't know how interesting it would have been to watch me write emails and take phone calls. Though I wasn't teaching lessons, I actually had a lesson today of my own with Gemma Stormgarden out at the Silverglade Equestrian Center. For those of you who may not know Gemma, she's one of the trainers at the SEC who actually used to be one of my teachers when I was a working student there and doing their certification program. One of my weaker disciplines is definitely dressage. I just prefer the more thrilling events like show jumping or cross country, so it's just always been kind of my Achilles heel. But over the past year, I've really been focusing on building up my dressage skills, and I've been doing that thanks to my horse Cherry, who you can see here. She is a 15-year-old Dutch warm-blood mare, and I'm actually leasing her from Gemma, who has not only taken this horse up to the 4-star level in eventing, but has just managed to build her into this really beautiful dressage horse. So I've been leasing her specifically because she's just such a superstar when it comes to dressage, so there's minimal training needed from me on my end. So today we were just working through some dressage test combinations and just getting everything kind of cleaned up and in order. After our lesson, we headed back home as it was time for some evening chores. Yet again, my amazing staff takes care of a lot of the bigger tasks such as feeding and cleaning up the barn. In the meantime, I took the opportunity to clean some tack, and I also helped with bringing the horses in. I had my final meetings of the day with my staff where we just go over everything that got done and future things that we need to keep working on. And I also did my night check and make sure that everyone was set for the night. Final task was making sure our barn cam and alert system was up and running, which allows me to monitor the barn overnight and is kind of my defense system or if anything happens overnight. And after I was done with that, I headed back home. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this vlog. I do hope you enjoyed it, and if so, please consider subscribing to my channel so that you can stay up to date with future uploads. Until next time, bye!